Okay, I'm here for a rant video. And I love when a rant is hot and fresh and you're still feeling the blood boiling inside you. Makes it easier to make a rant and more efficient and get it out of my system already. Okay, here's the deal. It's a gorgeous day today, beautiful sunny day in the summer in July. It's Sunday, a day of rest. Everybody rests, so to speak. I mean, some people got to work. My girlfriend has to work. My girlfriend's at work today. I'll be picking her up later. But anyway, I was out today, this afternoon. I went to my record store, and I was hanging out there with the guys for a while. And then I came home. I got home into my apartment at about 2:30. As soon as I get into my apartment at 2:30, I hear beep, beep, 30 seconds, beep, beep, 30 seconds, beep, beep. Something's going off. Either the smoke alarm's going off or the carbon monoxide detector that's plugged into the wall. Something's going off. So I look and I find out it's the carbon monoxide detector. Carbon monoxide detector, I can't remember the last time we got that maintained or changed. Hold on. Dry throat. I can't remember the last time we had to do anything with it or they replaced it or anything. So I look and it says on it, there's a red word and it says END, end, which means I presumed that the battery life was dead. It's plugged into the wall, it's electric, but the thing is dead. So now, what I'm concerned about is this thing won't stop beeping. Every 30 seconds, beep, 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 beep. You get the picture. And the neighbors are upstairs. And I'm like, oh my God, how long was this going on? I've been out of the house for, a few hours now. How long was this bothering them? Right away, I'm concerned, okay? I'm concerned for the neighbors. I don't want them hearing the beeping. I don't want to hear the beeping. I would be upset if their alarm was out and they weren't home and they didn't know what to do. So I have, on the side of my refrigerator, I have a list of people to call, the maintenance crew. They have certain phone numbers because I live in an apartment complex. And the idea is, here's the numbers to call. It says call, in case of an emergency or you need something, call these numbers and these orders. So they have the order. So I call the first number, nobody answers. Then I called the second number, which was one of the maintenance workers around here, and nobody answered. I called the third number, which is another maintenance worker, and I get a hold of him. Okay, and I say, yeah, hi. I said, this is Joe in the apartment, whatever. And I said, we have this problem. And he says, does it say end on it? And I said, yes, it says END, end. And he says, that means that it's shot. Because this happened yesterday or something. He said, I had to replace one the other day. So he goes, I'll take it. Can I come over in a few minutes? The guy says to me, I'll give you a new one. I said, sure. So I guess it took about 15, maybe 20 minutes. And the whole time, the annoying beep, 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 beep. Now, it occurred to me, I picked the thing up and I looked at it and I thought to myself, maybe I could take the battery out. Maybe I should have just taken the battery out. I've had situations with smoke detectors on the ceilings where if they go off and they make a noise, all I got to do is take the battery out and shut it up, keep it quiet. And I did that for long periods of time, I'll be honest with you. But right now, as we speak, everything's good. The smoke detectors in my home, they have fresh batteries and they're working order and everything's good. But it did occur to me, maybe should I take the battery out? I don't know. But then I thought, carbon monoxide, they always say don't fool with that. You could die of carbon monoxide poisoning, if you, so maybe it's important to get this fixed right away. It is kind of like an emergency, right? I don't know. So as I'm waiting for the guy to come over to help me with a new one, I start realizing, hey, it's Sunday. Sunday, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. It's a beautiful day. People may be out with their families or relaxing. Maybe, I don't want to bother anybody on a Sunday, but it didn't occur to me because I'm retired. And sometimes I was just thinking today when I was at the record store, what? It's Sunday. I forgot for a minute. I thought it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It feels like a weekday. Also, the fact that my girlfriend's working today. She's at work. It doesn't feel like a Sunday. It felt like a work day or a weekday to me. So I start realizing as I'm waiting for the guy to come, this is a Sunday. And finally, who comes to the door? Knock, 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 knock. The landlord himself. The big man. I thought it was going to be the maintenance worker I called, but it wasn't. He must have had to call the landlord, and the landlord came over. Comes over, and the first thing I say to him, because that's the kind of guy I am, I'm like, I'm really sorry. I said, I'm retired, and I didn't even realize this was Sunday. This is Sunday. He got a big smile on his face, and he says to me, this is not an emergency, This is not an emergency, with a smile. And I said to him, well, he said, I says, all you had to do is take the battery out with a smile. So I gave him a little bit of zing back. I said, well, if I could have shut the thing up, I wouldn't have called you. I think it went the other way around. I said, if I could have shut this up, I wouldn't have called you. And he said, well, that's when he said, well, you could have took the battery out. And I'm, keeping a professional big smile, but with a little zing behind it. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I said, so he goes, hold on a minute, I'll get you. So he left it. I guess he went to the maintenance office or wherever they have these things. And he came back with the one and he hands it to me. He says, here you go. All you got to do is plug it in the wall. I said, again, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. He goes, well, now I'm going to hear it because, this is something that could have waited. He says, and the guys are not going to be too happy about this, and I'm going to hear it, something like that. And he's smiling the whole time, and then he goes, there's no carbon here. He looks around the room. He goes, there's no carbon here. So I said, okay, I'm sorry. 3 or 4 times I say I'm sorry, okay? And I felt like crap, and I felt like I really was a pain. I really bothered this guy. I didn't know what to do, folks. Carbon monoxide, they always say it could kill you, and I don't know. What do I know? There's no carbon in the air. How do I know there's not something... if you feel that way about it, if you feel like there's no carbon and this thing isn't that important, this gizmo, why don't I just take it out all the time? Throw it out, okay? There's no carbon here. And you know what really gets me about this? And here comes the real rant where I'm letting it out. We've been living, my girlfriend and I, in this same apartment for 10 and a half years. And in 10 and a half years, I don't think I ever remember us calling them with an emergency or a problem. 10 and a half years. And I call you one time? Okay, I realize it's a Sunday. Apologize again, if that helps. One more time, I'll apologize. But, I never bother you. We're good tenants. We pay our rent on time. And let me tell you something. Because we've been here 10 and a half years, every year they raise the rent. Let me tell you, this rent is high, too. We pay high rent in here, and I got to get an attitude? Look, that really pissed me off, I felt about this big, okay, because of this. And I don't know if I'm in my right or am I wrong. Of course, that's where I welcome the opinions in the comments. And if we disagree, I'll tell you I disagree. But I want to know what you think. Come on, guy. It's not like I freaking knock on your door. We're never late with the rent. We always pay our rent. You never have a problem with us. It's like we're not even there. You never hear anything from us. And one flipping time, if I knew, I thought that the idea did cross my mind. Maybe I could just take the battery out. But how do I know you weren't going to be pissed off if I did that? What if I broke something? What if I tried to get the battery off and I broke it? Or what? I don't know. Maybe you got to throw it in the garbage anyway because it's old. It doesn't work anymore. I don't know. But I didn't know. I had to think quick on my feet. I don't know. I thought call the guys. It's an emergency to me. It's beeping every 30 seconds. And not just that, but since when is carbon monoxide not an emergency, right? Yeah, after the fact. When you come home and you find us all dead on the floor, like Gene Hackman and his wife, and I realized Gene Hackman and his wife was not due to carbon monoxide, but I'm just making a scenario here, a comparison. I'm saying, then you say, you should have called us right away. Why didn't they call the guy right away when they had this problem? Give me a break, huh? Rant over for today, and I want to tell you all, guys, life's tough enough. Don't sweat the small stuff.